There was something mysterious about that rainy evening, something that would change Alma's life forever. But before we find out what happened, let's take a few steps back. But first, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on our future stories full of emotions and twists. Alma lived a life that many would have called modest, but for her, every day next to Dionisio was a precious gift. Their small house, with its peeling walls and furniture worn by time, represented their refuge, a corner of the world that they had built with love and sacrifice. Dionisio worked hard, facing long and tiring days. His smile, even if tired, was always ready to light up the house when he returned in the evening. Alma, for her part, took care of cleaning in a bank, a humble job which left her with rough hands and a tired body, but she never complained. She had Dionisio, and that was enough for her. But fate can be cruel at times. Dionisio suddenly fell ill, and in a few weeks, his life force faded like a candle in the wind. Alma found herself alone. Her world collapsed into an abyss of pain and loneliness. At the funeral, no one came to console her. She was alone with her pain, clutching that old coat that still retained his smell. Every day, she walked the streets with her head bowed, hoping to escape the looks of pity and mockery that followed her everywhere. The city saw her as a defeated woman, lost in her sadness. Children laughed at her appearance, unaware of the weight that weighed on her heart. Alma returned to work, but she was no longer the same. Her hands moved automatically, lifelessly. The looks of her colleagues were full of condescension, especially that of Roberto, the cashier. There was no shortage of opportunities to humiliate her. "Perhaps you are hoping for some miracle, Alma," he said to her one day with a mischievous smile. Yet, in that atmosphere of despair, an idea took shape in Alma's mind. A colleague suggested that she check to see if Dionisio had left something behind, a legacy that, however unlikely, could give meaning to all that pain. Alma decided to try, even if she didn't have much hope. With his heart in his throat, he approached the counter where Roberto was busy tapping away at the keyboard. "I'd like to check Dionisio's account," he said in a trembling voice. Roberto looked up with the air of someone preparing for another laugh at his expense. "Let's see if there's anything to find out," he said sarcastically, his fingers flying over the keys. But something changed in the air. Roberto stopped laughing. His face became serious, almost pale. His eyes widened as he stared at the screen. A sudden silence fell over the room as everyone waited to understand what was happening. If you liked the video, give it a precious like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get back to what happened. Dionisio's account balance showed an unimaginable figure: millions. Alma could not believe her eyes. The man she had loved, who had lived a simple and humble life, was in reality the sole heir to an immense fortune. Dionisio had given up everything to live next to her, far from the luxuries and riches that his family had offered him. Roberto stammered a few words of apology, but Alma wasn't listening. Her thoughts were elsewhere, trying to understand the meaning of all this. She had to make a decision. That money could change her life, but she knew that Dionisio wouldn't want her to use it only for herself. When she got home, Alma found a letter hidden in the pages of an old book. Her hands shook as she opened it. It was a carefully written letter from Dionisio, explaining why he had never wanted to touch that money. "I chose love, Alma," he wrote, "because it is the only true wealth." Tears rolled silently down Alma's cheeks as she read those words. Dionisio had left her much more than a material fortune. He had left her a legacy of love, of values, of hope. With her heart full of emotions, Alma decided to use that money to help those who needed it most. Dionisio had died of cancer, and she wanted to make sure no one else had to face that pain alone. She would open a pediatric oncology center, a place where sick children could find love and hope, just as Dionisio would have wanted. Months passed, and the center became a reality. Alma visited it every day, watching the children bravely fight against the disease. The walls were colorful, the corridors full of life. But under that blanket of joy, the pain was palpable. One day, while walking among the beds, he saw a familiar figure. Roberto was there, sitting next to a pale-faced little girl. His once contemptuous gaze was now filled with worry and pain. Alma approached cautiously. "What happened?" she asked softly, seeing the tears in Roberto's eyes. "Lena, my daughter, needs an operation, but I can't afford it," he said in a broken voice. Alma knelt down beside the little girl. "Lena, how are you feeling?" she asked, trying to give her some strength. "I'm scared," Lena said in a small voice, looking at Alma with tearful eyes. Alma made a decision at that moment. "Roberto, I will do everything I can to help Lena. This fortune is not mine alone. Dionisio would have wanted me to use it for good." Roberto's eyes filled with tears. "Would you really do that?" he asked in disbelief. Alma nodded. "Yes, I will. I won't let fear steal Lena's smile." That day, Alma left the center with a new purpose. She was no longer the lonely, sad woman she once was. Now she was a force of hope, a light in the darkness. And you, what would you have done in Alma's place? Do you believe that love and generosity are the true riches of life?